Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again to meet our community, the Hispanic business community here in Orange County, powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, brought to you by Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studios here at the University of California Irvine Field Applied Innovation Center. With the man who he's ready to talk about sports today here. We got the sports nut himself, John Gutierrez. Welcome.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in again to another Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce community podcast show. I'm your host, Senior Vice President here, John Gutierrez. And with us today, we have another special guest, and we have this organization that is just doing some amazing work in the community. His name is George Zedan. He's the Executive Director of Veritas Education Foundation. He's the founder. And of course, he also is very passionate, and the mission of this organization is that it's a basketball tool to advance the narrative of Latinos playing college basketball and beyond. Welcome, everybody, Mr. George Zedan.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me.
All right. So I know that this is an organization that has been helping a lot of young Latinos in the community, specifically high school students, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
So I'd love for you to share with us a little bit about you and how you got this started and how you got involved in doing all this, if you don't mind sharing that story.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really fortunate as a kid to have great mentors and great coaches in my life. My story is not unlike any other story. Grew up in Montebello, East LA area, single mom, and credit to her, had the wherewithal and the sense to like, hey, I got to keep this guy busy. I got to keep him out of trouble. I got to keep him doing something positive. So as seasons rolled around, baseball, football, basketball, I was always involved. And one of the things that always resonated with me was how fortunate I was to have just great coaches and great mentors. Got to high school, went to Montebello High School, same scenario, freshman football, varsity football, basketball, ran track, played baseball, and always just had really positive, coaches in my life. Coaches that were hard on me, coaches that would yell and scream, but overall the message was always positive. And so I felt like, as a kid, just, kind of growing up rough and just didn't really have a lot going. That kind of centered me, and it sort of motivated me to want to do something like that as I got older. So got into coaching about 25 years ago. Started coaching my son's youth basketball team. So I signed him up for the local rec league, Montebello Golden State. So there's a little plug for them.
Nice.
But they didn't have enough coaches, and so they called me and they said, "Hey, we noticed you signed up your son Ezra. But unfortunately, he's not going to be able to play." Well, I got up, of course I'm young. I got upset. What do you mean he's not going to be able to play? And it's like, well, we don't have enough coaches. So I, being, young and sort of cocky, just was like, oh, how hard can it be? And so I said, yeah, I can coach. And oh, great. And I remember my first year coaching record was 3 wins, 16 losses, and 1 tie. So needless to say, it was not a very good start.
It was a tough season.
Tough season. And then
you fell in love with it, though.
Fell in love with it. I didn't understand, I didn't play basketball in college. I didn't grow up playing basketball at a high level. So I didn't have a network. I didn't have all these kind of relationships. So having to learn sort of from the ground up, it was almost like learning another language. But you're right. I did fall in love with it. And
coaching is very different than actually when you're playing sports. Because I know just like you, I grew up playing football, basketball, and running track. And I coached later my nephew's sports. It's a whole different world, wouldn't you say that? From being an athlete to being an actual coach, right?
It definitely made me realize how terrible I was as a high school basketball player, because I thought I was doing well. I thought I was listening. I thought this coach doesn't know what he's doing, but it turns out the coach was right back in those days. But yeah, it's a completely different perspective. And
I like to compare it on the show that we have here on the podcast show to sometimes we meet business owners in our chamber, of course, that they'll say to me, growing up, I was a really hard worker. So when I started my business, it was very difficult on now managing people. It's a whole different, when you have to manage people and lead people, is very different than you doing it yourself, right? And I would say coaching is very similar to that, from you being an athlete to now you being a coach.
Yeah, one of the things that helped me, it's kind of odd. It's very windy, but when USC had it rolling with Pete Carroll, a really good friend of mine, fellow Montebello High School grad, was in charge of the academics for USC football. And so I was able to go to a bunch of practices and go to a bunch of games, and I just always admired the way they were organized. Organized chaos is what you call it. It was fast, it was competitive, and it was engaging. And I always wanted to structure our team and our practices around, hey, what would I want to do? If I was a kid, what would I like to be? What sort of practices? But yeah, it's not easy.
I think you bring up a very valid point, because you just said something very interesting. When you see how the top coaches and elite programs, how they run things like Johnny on the spot, right? Like a very, you can see the difference between that program and maybe other programs that are just kind of like, everybody's coming out there, they're kind of like, whatever, let's get ready, right?
Absolutely.
You can see the difference, right? And
yeah, I had a conversation with Jay Wright, who won a couple national championships as head coach at Villanova, and one of the things he stressed was like, when I step out on those lines, I'm not walking out with my sandals on. I'm not walking out with my Starbucks and, hey, we're starting at 9:05, but I'll get there at 9:15. It's pretty much go time, and so that's one of the things I've really taken pride in, as far as developing structure and practices and holding kids accountable and trying to make it as fun as possible as well.
share with us, and for everybody listening, this is not just your everyday, I don't want to say like after school program or after school league. This is an elite group of athletes that you guys are coaching, that you're preparing. Obviously student athletes, because you're dealing with high school students, but these are like the cream of the crop, right?
Absolutely. So, I'll back up a little bit. The first and foremost, it's a very unique program in that we are emphasizing Latinos in basketball. So that sounds like a very interesting statement when you start talking to people about promoting Latinos in basketball. They're kind of like, wait a minute, what exactly? We're so short, or we dominate soccer, we dominate baseball. And my thought was, yeah, if we dominate soccer and we can dominate baseball, why not basketball? If we can build an apparatus that allows players to develop, to grow, similar to Jaime Jaquez, and we spoke offline about that, John. Jaime comes from a great family, comes from a great situation. He had stability. Obviously, he has size and talent, but there's a bunch of Jaime Jaquez out there, and those stories are yet to be told. But to answer your question, yeah, we run a program called Veritas Academy. We host kids from 9th grade through 12th grade, Latinos from both the U.S. and outside of the U.S. So currently we have kids from Colombia, from Ecuador, from Argentina, from Dominican Republic, and we train them, we school them, we teach them the game of basketball, and then we use basketball as a tool to further their education. And really, making it to the NBA, making it to professional basketball is the ultimate goal, and we want our kids to chase that. But at the end of the day, if we can just get them educated and get them acclimated to the U.S. culture, they're going to change the trajectory of their lives. And a couple of stats, we're going into year 6. We have a 100% graduation rate, and we have a 100% college placement rate. So it's a very unique program.
Well, I think that it's important that all of us, this is not just sports, it's also the fact that you're making sure these young men are being prepared for the next step in life, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we want to win, we want to compete, we want to have great experiences, we want to have a lot of fun doing it. But at the end of the day, I mean, if we can allow a kid to get to college, get a scholarship, get his degree, and then go into whatever field or whatever business they're interested in, then we've done our job, and we've done it to the best of our ability.
I know you shared with me that you have a gala coming up this weekend, right? It's at Hotel Indigo in downtown LA. Can you share with our listeners what the event is about, and what is the goal of it? Obviously, if anybody wants to participate or sponsor or come and attend, can you share with everybody what that is?
Yeah, I really appreciate you, and we still can't figure out if it's gala or gala, right? So if anyone,
tomato. That's what Paul said
exactly
earlier.
So we have our second annual gala this year. Last year we had it in Anaheim, so I think we're kind of switching back and forth between Orange County and Los Angeles. But Hotel Indigo, right near the Staples Center, this Saturday, August 19th. I believe it starts at 6 p.m. And the idea behind the gala is obviously to have a great time, but raise money for a great cause, Veritas Education Foundation. So you mentioned our players, and they're unique and they're special, but all of them are on scholarship. And obviously it costs to house, to school, to feed, to train. It's a pretty big endeavor. And so our goal is to kick off our school year with the bang and try to raise as much money for our program as possible.
Well, and I know that for those of you listening that are members of our chamber or the community, these events, for those of you that normally don't attend these kind of events, they're also great networking events, because we put on every year ours at the Disneyland Hotel, our big gala that we do with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And they're just a great opportunity to go network. And the reason why I say that is because you got some pretty big stakeholders and hotshots that are part of your board. Can you share a little bit about who these people are? Because if anybody wanted to come out and sponsor and support, they're going to run into these big heavy hitters, right?
Absolutely. We've been very fortunate, and I use that word, to the nth degree. Like, we're super, super lucky. Everybody has a COVID story, and everybody has, tough situations, tough times, families, with losses. But one of the things that COVID allowed me to do, because the world was shut down, it allowed me to get out and talk to people and share our story and share what we were trying to accomplish. And one of the individuals that I was able to meet with, who's become a great friend and a great mentor over the past few years, is Gary Acosta, who's one of the most, probably top 25 influential Hispanics in the United States. He runs NAREP, which is the largest trade organization in the country, and he's based out of San Diego. So his son played for an organization that I helped coach and helped run, previous years. So we kind of shook each other's hands. I wouldn't say we were friends, but I knew he was a Montebello alumni. And so I kind of just stored the name and the phone number in my memory bank.
That's called networking.
I didn't know it at the time. I never thought that.
But if you don't store it, right? You don't follow up. You don't connect.
Yeah.
And look what he's become to the program.
Absolutely. And so we actually met, during the height of COVID, and we were masked up and gloves and sitting, 20 feet apart. And I shared the vision, and finally he's like, well, what do you need? And I'm like, oh, I need support. I need people to get our message out. And he loved the idea. And he's been a huge stakeholder, huge supporter of the event.
Shout out to Gary Acosta.
Absolutely. And then this Saturday, we're honoring Gary's business partner in a venture called Latitude, which is sort of like a South by Southwest, but for Latinos. And so if you could ever participate in Latitude, I mean, for me, it was a life-changing experience. It's a conference for 10,000 people and
yes,
business, tech, entrepreneurs.
Is this the one that had Alex Rodriguez or something like
that? They've had Alex Rodriguez.
Yes.
Last year, President Obama kind of closed the show.
Huge event.
Ridiculously amazing. And when you see...
Actually, one of our board members, I think Patty Juarez, was actually at one of those because she's with Wells Fargo.
Okay.
And they were one of the big sponsors and supporters. I saw that whole thing.
Yeah.
Wow. So his business partner is part of this whole thing.
So his business partner, one of them is Saul Trujillo, and we're very fortunate that Saul has become a stakeholder. His wife sits on our board, and we're honoring Saul and Corinne Trujillo this
Shout
Saturday.
out to them.
Yeah. So absolutely. And then the other person we're honoring is Earl Watson. Played in the NBA for 13 years, UCLA legend.
That's right.
Half black, half Mexican. So
is he half Mexican?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow, UCLA Bruin. We got Ruben Franco, our president, is a graduate from UCLA. So I got to let him know that you guys are honoring. Man, he's going to want to go to that.
Exactly. So it's going to be a big time event. We're really excited. and we're trying to just get the message out.
How many people do you expect at this event?
I think we'll end up with like 150.
Okay.
150 people. I
All
mean,
right.
it's not a huge
Black tie? Is it like a black tie?
black tie, but
Okay.
also, I mean, it's LA, right? So
Yes.
some people wear jeans and a polo, and some people. Last year we had
Hollywood.
we had some people in tuxedos.
Yes.
And then there'll also be a couple of surprise NBA guests. Can't announce who it is, but
We can't say those names, but some key people will be there.
Exactly.
So buy some tickets, get a table, sponsor, support. Where can they find the opportunity to support you? What for
So-
the gala or for future
for
events?
for the gala right now, it's really long, but it's veritaseducationfoundation.org, veritaseducationfoundation.org, and then right now we have the website just directing you to the site for purchase of tickets or tables or sponsorship opportunities, and there's also a silent auction with a bunch of really cool items as well.
That is awesome. Now, for those of you just tuning in, we're with George Zedan, who's the executive director of Veritas Education Foundation. He's one of the founders there. Or are you the first founder that started it?
I started the program.
Okay,
yes.
so the founder, which is their mission is to use basketball as a tool to advance the narrative of Latinos playing college basketball and beyond. And they've helped pretty much provide not only a platform for basketball, but also for education.
Absolutely.
Which I think is very important that we continue to let people know this is not just basketball, which basketball is the key component. And I've gone on your site there and I saw the athletes and the information you sent me. I mean, some of these guys are like 6'8", 6'6". I mean, you're not your typical Latinos, These are some big kids from all around the world.
Yes, absolutely, and that's sort of our goal is to narrow the starting point. Basketball and athletics, and this may or may not be popular, but in my opinion, basketball and all sports in the U.S. have become middle class sports. And so when you take a kid sleeping on dirt floors in Colombia, or a kid in Panama that instead of going to school full time has to work on the streets, do some schoolwork, and then try to play basketball, you're never going to get to the level that you need to get to, even if you're talented. And so we're just trying to narrow that starting point, whether you're U.S. born Latino kid or a foreign born Latino kid. And we want to provide, elite training, make sure they're eating every day, elite opportunities for education. And I mean, case in point, our best player last year, Marquis Worthy, had a 4.2 GPA.
Wow.
He's an Orange County, Santa Ana kid, half black, half Mexican.
Good for him.
Played center on his high school team, and we made him a point guard over the course of 2-3 years.
How tall is he?
He's 6'2", 6'3".
Wow.
And 4.2 GPA. He's headed to UMass. He has a chance to be their starting point guard as a freshman.
Canby.
But yes, exactly.
I grew up watching Canby
exactly.
during my days in the 90s. Some of you might not know, but UMass had some teams. I don't know how they're doing now, but they had some teams in the Final Four, right?
Yes. They're trying to bring it back. They hired legendary coach Frank Martin, Cuban-American.
Okay.
The only Latino to lead his team to the Final Four in NCAA history.
Okay.
So he's going into year 2. He supports our program immensely. And Marquis, talking about, like you said, more than basketball, he's going to major in sports marketing and sports management.
Good for him.
And it's the #1 sports management school in the country. So to talk about educate, it's a really big deal when we start talking about things like that.
I know you and I had talked about over the phone when we first had this conversation. And for me, basketball is very dear to my heart. In fact, we just did another kind of re-grand opening of the Santa Boys Club where I grew up. And I told the story at the event last week when I was there to the directors there. I said, when I was 7 years old, I walked into this boys club, and most kids went to play pool, bumper pool, ping pong, right? They were doing.
Was it caroms? Was it caroms too? Right? Wasn't that a game?
Yeah, the boys club had all these games, right? And I would walk in the club and literally walk straight to the basketball gym, and I tell them the story of my dad was growing up old school. He worked late, right? Just couldn't be there for us all the time. He was just working really hard. Mm-hmm. And so instead of me being in the streets, I would go to the club and I would go play basketball with my friends, right? And I remember when they would take all the kids to go swimming at Santa High School at the pool in this big bus, I used to love staying in the gym by myself and just shooting, hearing the ball, right? Just shooting and just shooting. And for me, I didn't realize until as an adult that it became therapeutic for me.
Absolutely.
Right? And this is something Kobe Bryant talks about, a lot of famous athletes talk about. Being in the gym by yourself, this happened with me recently at Equinox Gym. I'm shooting hoops, and as I'm shooting there by myself, who walks in? AC Green from the LA Lakers, right? This is like
Legend.
like 8-9 years ago. And we end up becoming friends. We start doing, charity events together. We start doing kids leadership camps. But how basketball, we talk about that, me and AC now, how basketball brought us together. He introduced me to some doctors that now do business with me.
Wow.
Right? And so basketball is not just a sport, folks.
It's way bigger.
Right?
It's way bigger.
It's therapeutic.
Yeah.
It's business. It's a lot more than just the game.
You could be having, or me personally, I could be having a rough day. Things could be going wrong. There could be a bunch of situations, but the minute you step onto the court and the minute you get to practice, you see our kids, you see our guys. We get into the mix. Like you said, therapeutic is a perfect word for it.
What I love about the game, and for those of you that follow basketball know this, people don't realize that there's 5 players on the court, right? But a good example is, Dennis Rodman couldn't really shoot the ball, couldn't really score, but the guy out-rebounded anybody. You have different roles for different players, right?
Absolutely.
Steph Curry handles all the shooting. Klay Thompson's is like wingman and shooting.
Yep.
But then you got the guys that got to hit the boards. You got the scrapplers that are doing this, right? So it's putting together, gelling together a team, just like in business, right?
Absolutely. Everybody has to have a very defined role. Everyone has a job. If there's one person not doing their job, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It's very obvious. So yeah, to your point, there are tons and tons of parallels between sports, basketball, and business. You have a leader, you have a coach, you have development. I mean, there's all these different things that go into it. And I think that's why a lot of kids that play college basketball or athletes that play, they're sought after in the business world because they know how to be structured and follow a schedule. And yeah, there's a lot to be said for that.
Okay, you're the founder of this organization. So the question I'm going to ask you is, what is the vision? What is the goal? What do you see, Coach?
Yeah.
Right? Put me in, Coach.
Okay.
What do you see, Coach,
So
the future of this organization?
giant vision. Touching on Gary. Gary wrote a blog maybe a year ago that put it out there that, we believe that the NBA could be 10 to 15% Latino in the next 15 years.
Wow.
Exactly. Everyone would laugh at that, right? But there's never been an apparatus to plan that, to organize that, to get everyone together. And we at Veritas want to be that organization that sort of brings everyone together. So recently we've secured a Nike Elite High School sponsorship. There's only 180 of those in the country. There's about 50,000 high schools participating in basketball. And to say that we're one of 180 is an amazing accomplishment. And I'm super thankful for everyone involved in that. The league that we're playing in, it's called the NIBC. It's going to be a Nike-sponsored league. It's 12 of the top teams in the country. That is, Oak Hill, IMG, Montverde Academy. These are just churning out NBA players every single year. So now we're playing at the highest level. Matter of fact, the league, when we play our first game, let's say in November, the first Mexican kid will be in that league. The first Colombian kid will be in that.
Oh, it's okay. No worries.
Is that my phone?
Give me a second.
No, it's not. It's yours.
Sorry. We are always live on Facebook, so we got to make sure we do that.
So we're making history. So short-term goal is to continue to grow our foundation, and it's a cute story that we have 5 or 6 kids get college scholarships every year. My vision is to get 15 or 20 into college basketball per year, because then you start changing people's vision. You change the narrative when you see names like Hernandez and Gonzalez, and then it becomes Jaquez. Then it's like, oh shoot, there's 3 or 4 of those kids, versus UCLA has 1 and there's 1 in the entire Pac-12. So we want to focus on that, and then long term we want to build in the next 5 years a big time campus that's not only catering to athletics but academics, and we want the tilt to be towards advancing Latinos in all sports. And so becomes basketball, then baseball, then soccer, then golf, then tennis. And, our goal is to build an IMG West. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yes.
IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, is sort of the goal and the peak for Veritas.
Yeah, and for those listening, please support an organization like this, because this is what it's about: building young men to, yes, be great athletes, but also be great leaders in the community, because you're providing a platform that's providing education.
Right.
I know you talked about the 4.2 student that you guys have, and a lot of these young men, basketball will prepare them for the business world.
100%.
Right?
100%. Matter of fact, we have we've implemented a program. So we have the basketball, which is top 0.01% in the country. We have the schooling, which is 100% graduation rate, 100% college placement rate, and now we're focused on the business side of things. So depending on what each player is interested in, some are interested in tech, some are interested in fashion, some are interested in business. We're matching our players with CEOs.
Nice.
And so we have a Follow the CEO program that we started last year. And so a few of our kids are actually being mentored by business owners, by people in fashion, by people in tech. So it's a very unique, it's bigger than basketball.
Well, it goes to show, you said earlier in your story that you had great mentors growing up, and it inspired you to start this, right? What will it do to them, right, as far as them being mentored?
Right.
And I just want to say, while we're still on the show here, and I know we're almost closing out here, thank you. Thank you as a coach for what you're doing, because I see coaches no different than teachers.
Absolutely.
You're teaching every day.
Yeah.
And you have to put together, just like a teacher, you have to put together a curriculum. You have to put a game plan.
Right.
I know AC Green talks about this at his leadership camps that we did, and that's such a hard thing. Every day you're coming up with a game plan, a curriculum, just like a teacher. So it takes a lot of time, folks.
Yeah.
A lot of time, right?
It's more than a full-time job. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of dedication.
A lot of dedication, a lot of commitment, but like people always talk about, find what you love, find what you're passionate about. And so it's an exciting time for us. And I wake up every day excited to,
So you love what you're doing.
love what I'm doing, just trying to get better.
Yeah. Well, thank you, George. I know that, again, we want to make sure we plug in that this weekend at Hotel Indigo in downtown LA, you will be having your fundraiser, your gala that benefits the foundation. Again, please get some tickets, sponsor, go to the silent auction, support this great organization, which, by the way, like we talked about earlier, there's going to be some pretty top hitters there, like Gary Acosta and Mr. Sol Trujillo, right? There's going to be some pretty heavy hitters there this weekend.
You'll have more than half a dozen current and former NBA players. You have some of the leaders in business. We have individuals from JP Morgan that are sponsoring. We have a lot of very successful business owners, a lot of networking opportunities there for sure.
I just want to say, George, thank you for being here. We really appreciate you reaching out to us. And of course, our Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is here to provide any support and resources you all need. And, who knows, maybe we'll be building one of these huge centers, like you said, out here.
Absolutely.
In the next couple of years, right?
Without a doubt.
And anyone else you want to make sure we plug or thank or just give a shout out to that's been part of your team and making this all happen?
No, I mean, I think we've covered some of the stakeholders. My coaches are tremendous.
Shout out to the coaches, all the assistants,
Exactly.
right? I know who you guys do that hard work, right?
Yeah, and I just want to
And
say,
the trainers,
coaches,
yes,
counselors. Yeah, it's a huge endeavor. But yeah, I think for me, I just want to say thank you to you. I'm hoping to build a relationship. I'm really excited to do some work and have our kids and players get involved with your organization, and to the extent that we can give back as well. We're very, very excited.
Well, continue all success. We wish you all the best this weekend at the gala. hopefully, maybe some of us can go and run into some of these cool NBA guys that we can't talk about that are going to be there. But more than anything, go rub elbows with some key leaders in the community and support a good cause and meet these young men. I'm assuming these young men are going to be there,
You'll
right?
leave the tables astonished. I mean, our kids say please and thank you. They look you in the eye. They shake your hand. They're truly thankful for the opportunity. So it's sort of a throwback to how things maybe used to be. So any opportunity we get to meet to introduce our kids to people, everyone comes away very impressed.
Hey, that's enough said right there, because that we're losing a lot of that today, right? So again, George, thank you for being here, Executive Director, founder of Veritas Education Foundation. We wish you all the best this weekend and in the future. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. And all right, folks, that's going to be our show today. We want to remind you to please continue to tune in. We do have our Chamber State Convention that is on right now, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And continue to follow us at OCHCC, which is our Instagram, and our Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Facebook page. And we'll see you next week with another great guest. Take care, folks.
Well, there you have it. One more reason to tune in each and every time to our community, the Hispanic business community here in Orange County, powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.